Welcome to Try This at Home. I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
I'm Harrison Stewart.
Yes, and this week our myths are... I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was. I don't know what... I'm leaving it in.
I think I know. Hey, you were expecting me to have a bit more of a ha-ha, and I didn't. I just said my name. So you went, yeah.
We're doing it live. I'm leaving it in. Our myths this week are boom lift, catapult, and windows down versus air conditioning. This episode originally aired November 10th, 2004, and it is directed by Andrew Farrell.
What?
I know. So that is...
Is this a first?
I believe so. So that is according to IMDb. We also know that IMDb frequently gets things wrong, but I looked in the credits for the actual episode, and he is listed as producer, not post-producer. We'll get there in a second, which is typically the writing credit. And typically on a usual episode, the producer is listed as Peter Rees. So I think this is an important one. I think this is our first episode not directed by Peter Rees and instead by friend of the show, Andrew Farrell. Pretty cool.
Interesting. Yes.
Very interesting.
This was a bombastic one.
It is. And the part of the reason for that may be that Andrew was in the director's seat. It was also post-produced, which we have come to know means written, by Anthony Griffiths. So this was a tag team.
It's the dream team. Yeah.
It is the dream team of Try This at Home guests. I had no idea that we were going to get an episode like that this soon in the run. But as you said, you could kind of feel it. It's a big, crazy, I think, awesome episode. What did you think?
I agree. I do feel particularly bad now. In some ways, talking to some of the people involved in the show, it's like it's put these, I don't want to say blinders necessarily, but like it's put these glasses on me where like I'm looking for things now.
Yeah.
And also like realizing the absurd amounts of time that go into certain things. Like later when they're on the racetrack and they have to be out there for like 7 hours, like someone had to watch all that footage.
I think about that all the time.
See if they have like 5 seconds of usable footage from just going around and around.
I think about that every time there's just like this one little offline that like Jamie will say, and it's like 5 seconds, and then it gets perfectly melded into the VO and everything else. And I'm like, that was 5 seconds out of like 100 hours. that Anthony Griffiths had to watch and pull that out and put it in the episode. I'm in that same thing. Like now that we know how the sausage is made, that's like all I can see.
It makes the endeavor of making this thing feel a lot more like panning for gold than I realized was involved. Just like let's find and also to get it down. Think about how much they're cutting out to just get like a clean 43 minutes.
I know.
It's
an absurd amount. I noticed
so much cutting.
Specifically in this episode, it made me think about it, but I think it's a trend that we've been seeing all season is it feels like there's a lot more narration in the show now, but it's really good. They've gotten really good and really, it's like really tight in that they'll set something up kind of quickly and let Robert Lee just come in with like a line here and there, not full sections of narration, but just like a quick hit here, hit there to weave the story together. And so there's more overall, and it really works. Like it's really good writing, and it's given even more of that voice to the show. And I noticed that a lot in this episode.
I mean, that was particularly useful and helpful, I feel, in an episode where things weren't always... Very little in this episode went according to plan.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, ended up being useful or interesting to look at as soon as they, like, accomplished the thing. So I felt like that came into this episode in a big way, where it was like, not only how do we accomplish this, but how do we fix it in a way that actually makes this cool to look at? Which further interesting by the fact that there were only 2 myths. in this one.
That was a note that I had is I keep going back and forth on what I prefer, like 3 myths or
I do
2,
too. Yeah.
because there have been times, I mean, we started the season with Myths Revisited where we had 7, and it was like really fun to actually get these quick like little hits all throughout the episode. But then we got to this episode and I really enjoyed that there were 2 myths and they were completely different. Last week we had 2 kind of similar, the ping pong and the balloons, and so it's kind of similar in science and style and the principles they're talking about. This week these could not have been more different. One is like a big crazy Looney Tunes test, and the other is this kind of simple but more relatable kind of story. And those
practical.
Very practical. And honestly, we got so much Adam and Jamie, it felt very like season 1, season 2 Mythbusters, which was also cool. So what do you have a favorite? Do you have an opinion between like multiple myths or just 1 or 2?
I still think I tend to prefer 3. But it's like I prefer 3 unless what happened like it did this week, which it didn't work initially. Yeah. And the thing that they were looking at, I was like, why are we wasting so much time on this? And then they get it to do something that I'm like, lucky. That look fun.
What's great about that too is that when they have that kind of built-in structure of they go to do the thing, it fails. Now we have to do it the Mythbusters way. I think that's how they put it in this episode. Is that you get right to the thing you want to see really fast. Like first segment of the show, we've got the boom lift and we're attaching something to it and Buster's in it. And it's like, oh, here's the thing. Whereas sometimes when there's multiple myths and they're cutting around, it keeps being this tease of like, come back and we'll do it. Come back and we'll do it. And you keep kind of waiting for that. This, you got to see it right away, which is really fun.
Yeah. But also they didn't give too much away. Which sometimes they can, but this time they definitely. I was really glad that they kept the actual launch a bit hidden.
Myth 1: boom lift catapults. This is one they describe as, quote, right off the Discovery website, which that continues to be a thing. So apparently, I would love to find maybe on like the Wayback Machine or one of those things. Maybe there was a submissions page or something. Listeners, if you have seen that, send it to us on Instagram. We'd love to see like a photo of what that was or a screen grab or whatever of how that worked, because I'm very curious to know.
Neither of the writers seemed to know anything about it.
Yeah, because I'm sure this was probably, I mean, if it was the Discovery side, it was going to the network, not the production company. So I guess that makes sense. But yeah, pre-social media, I would love to know how this was happening. And what we'll actually see as the show goes on, we're in 2004 right now. We're only a few years away from the birth of social media, and we'll see that come up on the show. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes thing. But
can't wait.
Yeah. And no harm will come of it whatsoever.
No, I'm kidding.
It'll only
a good period. There was a period there where it was cool and interesting and really neat that everyone was connected. There was a little period.
It's a brief shining moment in time.
We'll experience it in real time.
When social media was
in real time,
it was just recipes and suggestions for things for the Mythbusters to blow up.
Exactly.
The halcyon days.
The glory days.
This is
gone and nigh forgotten.
Really fun myth here. So it's a story about a guy using a boom lift to try to pull the engine out of his car. Apparently he has a chain around the engine. The chain breaks, and the boom lift then acts basically like a catapult, throwing the guy over his house and into a tree 200 feet away. So another big, crazy, ridiculous, very Mythbusters story.
I love the myth. Let me just say that right off the bat. I love the myth because sometimes you'll get one that you're like, oh yeah, maybe. And then you'll get ones that you're like, my cousin Fred, he said he had a neighbor back in 62 did this, that, where it's just like, no, that's I'm going to put this at a hard 10% chance.
This does have redneck engineering written all over it.
It really does. It really does. Reminds me very much of that one. What was that one? The raccoon cannon?
Yes. I
Wasn't
was
that
thinking
one of
about
them?
that too.
This gives me big raccoon cannon vibes. Where
Yes.
I can hear the twang on the story, even though nobody actually has a thick accent that's currently like relating it.
Yeah.
It feels a little backwardsy.
It
Yeah.
has that vibe, and it also has real cartoon vibes. Like that
Yeah.
image immediately. I mean, and of course they animate it early on to show it in the episode, so I guess that helps. But just the image that it puts in your head of, well, a boom lift kind of looks like a catapult. So it kind of has that little bit, like that little feeling of like, oh, I could see if that line, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe there's something there. I don't know enough about catapult to say that you can't
Yeah. Yeah.
make boom lift into catapult.
It's sad. I probably know more about catapults than I do about boom lifts. I didn't even know that that's what those things were called.
I can see that. That checks out for me. For
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, no. I believe that. What are they for exactly?
The lifts themselves.
Yeah.
I would have called these growing up, the term I would have heard was cherry picker, so it's kind of like you use to work on power lines, or you use to
have
work
also
on
heard that. Yes.
that's my frame
Or you
of
lift
reference.
somebody up to film a football game.
Yeah, something like that.
Could be a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Or
That was a thing.
Something
we had that one for that purpose.
Something along those lines, I guess, is what this would actually be used for. I did not know that they make them that go out as far as we see in this episode, though. It's pretty crazy.
No, for this reason. Like it does feel while at no point was I super worried about him being launched pretty far. The further you're extending it, the more I'm like, well, we're getting into maybe territory now.
And they seem to have the same reaction. So this is mostly a build team myth. It's like the build team, but Adam and Jamie are involved at certain times, but they're keeping up the kind of, two plot lines on the show. The build team has something, Adam and Jamie have something that we've started to see. And they go around looking for a boom lift and find not one, but two for free.
2 for free.
San Francisco
In a pre-Craigslist world.
Exactly.
That's kind of wild.
I was wondering about that. I was like, where do you go to find a free boom lift? Like
2 free boom lifts.
I should have looked on Facebook Marketplace to see if you can do that now.
I wouldn't have even known to call it a boom lift. So they're already like one step ahead of me.
Yeah. Problem 1, what to Google. Problem 2,
1,
Google.
what to Google. Problem 2, can we Google what to Google?
Yeah. Problem 2, Google does not yet exist.
Problem 3 is just infinite regress ? And then I drew turtles. Like about 20 minutes. I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah. We're no problems at all. Because they say that these machines cost like $50,000 new. Which, we talked about a couple of weeks ago or I guess was last week with the ping pong balls, was the $25,000 for the ping pong balls.
Yeah.
We're starting to see that more on the show of just these tests are getting bigger and a lot more expensive. This would have been just an absurd amount of money if they were trying to do this for real. So it is pretty amazing that they found these things for free. And it's such a weird, like, Mythbusters privilege that the first boom lift they turned down.
Yes.
Like they get to sample boom lifts and just decide which one they want.
But perhaps a bit taller.
Yeah.
A bit more thrust on that catapulting.
Did you notice that when Jamie is like, because they go to the first boom lift, they look at it, and it's like, oh, it's perfect. Everybody's like, it's perfect. And then Jamie's like, it's not long enough. I think it's not long enough. And I think we should really look at our options. And everyone else has that thing of like, Dad.
Like, come on, this is the one. He's like, no, it's not speaking to me.
Like, just pick a Christmas tree, Dad.
Come on.
It was those kind of vibes.
One. Yeah.
And it ends up seeming to bite him.
But he was right.
He was, but it also ends up seeming to bite him in the butt later on. They mentioned that maybe the boom lift is too long. So it was a little bit confusing as to, I mean, this was not going to work either way that they put it. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Still, it is funny that kind of comes back. The one that they end up settling on has a 60-foot long arm.
You can launch a boy with that.
You'd think, right? I mean,
you would think.
We've talked about before how on this show, you're dealing with such big things so often, big explosions and high speed, and what we get into later in the show with like, cameras that can capture bullets and all this kind of stuff. That when you think about things we mentioned on a recent episode, like 30 miles an hour doesn't sound that fast until you're the one going that fast. 60 feet doesn't seem maybe that big until it's straight up on the end in the air on the end of a wobbly arm.
Yeah, just in a little basket being launched across an airstrip.
And they describe it even under like optimal conditions as being on the end of a fishing pole, as that's how bouncy. No, thank you. No thanks.
It's not where I want to be, Cliff. It's not, I don't really, I'm not loving the picture, the mental image of me just bouncing around in this basket on the end of a 60-foot stick.
No.
It's not my favorite thing, I have to say.
No, I'll stay on the ground.
Launched
thanks.
or not, I think I just don't want to be up in that little basket.
The feeling that I had, because Carrie gets in it and is bouncing around, and like they even mentioned that,
but like a lot.
Yeah, and they mentioned
like more than you would want anybody to be bouncing around.
Well, because while she's doing it, they say the tires started to lift off the ground. That causes this like queasy feeling in my stomach, because I can just imagine like, oh God. I mean, that is the catapult action, right? In the opposite direction, but still, like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's a little more seesawing than I would like out of my giant thing that I have to go up inside of. That's just me.
So part of it's kind of fun in this episode is when they have to get into having to repair this thing. And I like that, because they do get it for free, like we said. And did you notice that the owner, when describing the problems, he really likes the phrase, "It has a gremlin in it"?
He loves it.
He says it a lot. He
can't stop saying it.
I would love to know how many times, like how much of that is on the cutting room floor, if like the 4 mentions are in the episode.
Well, not only that, but I love that like Scotty even tries to like play along with him. Like, oh yeah, we got one of those in our shop. We call him Donald the Goblin. And this guy's just not having it. He's like, no, but there is a gremlin.
But there is a gremlin
inside of this machine. Like, yes, that's cute and that's fun, and we all deal with little problems every now and again, okay? I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. We're talking about gremlins here, friend, okay? Mogwai, have you heard of them? Okay, amen? Do you hear me? Try to keep up, kid.
Do not get this boom lift wet. Do not feed this boom lift after midnight.
Do not, cannot stress enough. If this boom lift right here gets wet, you're just not going to have a good time. I don't know what else to tell you. You're just not going to have a good time.
It does. I mean, where this episode goes kind of feels like it could have been the third act of a Gremlins movie. Because those movies got pretty absurd.
Not the first one.
No, the first one.
The first one's pretty good.
The first one is not only good, but like when you can describe the movie Gremlins as grounded compared to the other ones, it shows you how far the other movies went.
It does show you how far they jumped. They jumped a shark in a whole new galaxy. Is what Gremlins done did.
Yeah, they jumped a gremlin.
So all of that's to say, you don't want to be dealing with gremlins.
No,
it's just not something that you want. So honestly, I think that should have been the red flag.
Yeah,
the second he says gremlins, they say, "Boss, it's more trouble than it's worth."
It did kind of fit in that. Who looked like a Gremlins victim was Buster.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Yeah.
He is in bad shape.
They kind of undersold how absolutely eviscerated Buster got by the falling elevator.
Yeah. Well, he's
done.
Later on, not to jump all the way to the end, but later on after the final boom lift test, Jamie's like, "That's the most we've ever destroyed him." And I was like, no. We saw at the beginning of this episode what he looked like after the elevator of death myth. That's the most destroyed he's ever been. His hips were broken in half.
I think at this juncture, moving forward, we're just always going to be saying that. Like no matter what, Jamie or Adam is going to be like, this is the most messed up he's ever been. But so far, Elevator really is the top. Like, I mean, he was destroyed. We're talking like he was probably in like 18 separate large parts. And, That's to say nothing of all the small gears and whatever that. I mean, he was just done. He was just done for.
And
just no more dust.
One of those inherently thrilling Mythbusters things is that when they need to fix him, they can just build new joints for Buster. We got a lot. One of the things I loved about this episode, we got a lot of Scotty's like craftspersonship in this episode. Like it really, everybody on the show over time, it feels like sort of got their specialty, like their Avengers power was this or that or whatever. When Granny Mahara's on the show, he's the robot guy, that kind of thing. This episode really focused on Scotty as a metal worker and seeing her put she puts Buster back together. She has to work on all the stuff with the boom lift. Like all throughout the episode, we just keep coming back to her. And it really, she is such a huge part of the show at this point. It's crazy that we're not far from, she won't even be there anymore. Because at this point, it's very hard to imagine the show without her because they really focus on her skills, specifically like what she's bringing to the show is a big part of it at this point.
And they keep being like, there's no one else that can do this.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Things keep coming up. Like with the gremlin, they're like, well, you know who will deal with gremlins? Scotty, send her in there. It's like, this is like the 5th thing this week that you've been like, send Scotty in for that. Like, come on, guys.
She just had to reassemble a man, and now...
And she did.
And she did. And now you're sending her in to fix this.
How much lard was used?
I bet a lot.
None that we saw.
None that they said.
None that we saw.
I'd like to believe there was some sneaky lard.
They said. The lard counter still remains at 4, but... we're keeping a vigilant eye on it.
Yeah, it's been a couple episodes. I'm getting a little bit worried about the lard counter.
I'm getting a little worried about the lard. But yeah, no, she did a ton, including, and then also this when they get to actually constructing it like a catapult, because it won't do it, right? Like when they're following the parameters of the engine and stuff like that, it just won't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
not terribly surprising.
On that topic briefly of Scotty's skill set, there was this great moment that I loved where they're talking about, Scotty's got to fix the engine. And you see her working and everything else. And meanwhile, Carrie and Tori are doing an art project.
Yes.
And they paint a name on this boom lift. Did you?
It's a good joke.
Did you pick up on what it was?
It's a good joke.
The tosser. Very good. This isn't a British show.
That's I think it still means the same thing in Australia.
Well, exactly.
I'm fairly certain.
That's that was my next thought was, they
knew what they were doing.
The Australians got one in there.
They knew what they were doing. Yes.
Yeah. Don't Google that if you don't know what it is. I'm just gonna
I will absolutely tell you to Google that. You have one half of this podcast full endorsement in Googling that.
Safe search.
Well, obviously, always.
But yeah, to your point, they go right ahead into the test within the original parameters, and I felt like they knew it wasn't gonna work because they did it in the parking lot. Like the whole idea is if this works,
if they suspected it, that he would get launched.
Yeah, he's just gonna get launched into like the neighbor's building or like into traffic if this actually works. So they clearly were like, yeah, this isn't gonna happen.
I can see them doing it, But this is after they debate. They do briefly debate like renting one. And it's like, oh, you guys are so mean.
Yeah.
This is. But they decide that the best course of action is to raise it, because that's they're trying to make it like a trebuchet,
right?
So they're trying to raise it,
right? Because this is the equivalent of we couldn't get it to work, so we're going to blow it up. Is they bust the myth right off the jump? They actually connect it to the engine, cut the chain. It doesn't go. It's just not how these machines are built for that to happen. There's some bounciness, but it's not gonna, they mention at one point, it's kind of an offhand thing they don't go into, that like there are injuries from that kind of thing associated with these, but it's usually people just falling out, not,
I can see that,
getting launched. But yeah, now it's time to do it what they call the Mythbusters way, which is actually essentially turning one of these things into a trebuchet.
And they did.
And they succeed.
And they sure did.
It's a pretty wonderful thing. So they're going to put the entire boom lift on stacked shipping containers. Like, like I think of these as like the Maersk containers that you see on the backs of ships. And use the weight of the machine itself to make the trebuchet. And they say this thing weighs 25,000 pounds. And they've got to...
that's a lot.
They got to get it up on double stacked storage containers. This immediately elevates to craziest setup we've seen. Every week now we're like, they're topping themselves on like most complicated and dangerous setup. This has got to be the new one.
But they really throw it together like seemingly pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like they're in the room. It's like, well, what if we just put them on top of, I don't know, storage containers? No, we'll need two. Well, if we'll need two, we'll need to reinforce it. I can reinforce it. Let's reinforce it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it really does. It's kind of like, can we? Let's.
It didn't inspire a lot of faith though when Jamie described their process as eyeballing.
I'll give you that. But when we're talking about building a gigantic machine to launch Buster, I want a little bit of nonsense in there. I want a little bit of eyeballing. We can get a little goofy with it. This is the secondary. This is the under myth. We can get silly with
the under myth. Is this even going to work?
Right.
Or is this going to be...
Can we force this to work under extreme duress?
Yes. Can we use all of our skills to make the most ridiculous cartoon come to life?
Maybe.
Yeah. They did very randomly in the middle of this episode, because they're talking about trebuchets. They did something that wasn't really necessary, but that I absolutely loved. When they cut to footage of this guy in Britain.
Different show.
Who's, completely different show, but he's made an actual modern trebuchet, and he's just shooting flaming bombs and cars across a field in England. Yes. It comes out of nowhere. It's just like a BBC doc from hell that they pull into this all of a sudden. But I absolutely loved it.
It was great. It was just like, and in case you don't know what that is, here, look. Awesome, right? We're going to do that. All right.
Yeah, it's the two most British men in the world. These guys were rocked up in like sweater vests and little caps. And they're just like, oh my.
Cardigan City. Yeah.
We seem to have hurled Bob's car across the field.
And we seem to have hurled your car across the field, Bob. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to recover it.
It kind of made me want. Remember,
I say we can launch it back in the opposite direction with a new trebuchet. It'll build one more down, and we can continue to launch it back and forth with his elder.
He just gets more British as he goes until he chokes on his own accent.
He chokes on his own crumpet. I said it what was it? God save her. Yes, indeed.
I forgot to tell you this off air, so I'm now going to tell it to you on the air and get your real reaction. I did get an email recently from Anthony Griffiths, and he said, tell Harrison to work on his Australian accent.
It hurts. It hurts. It hurts.
He's listening.
That means he listened. Thank you. I will work. I don't recall what I said. I do recall it being particularly gross and thinking, I hope he doesn't include that.
We've now offended the Australians and now this week the British. So let's just make a tour around the world.
Who's next? Who's next that I'm allowed to do an accent?
What pasty country can we offend next week?
To Russia! That's fine, right? There's nothing going on
that's all fine now.
That I shouldn't insult Russia for, right?
I see no problems with this idea. I think
I see no problems.
Perfectly safe.
I say, Russia.
One note that I had during this sequence, as they are rigging up making the boom lift up on the storage containers and all this craziness, is just what a fabulous character Carrie Byron has become on this show. Mm-hmm. Because every time they cut to her, it's like this breath of fresh air. Everyone's dirty and greasy and looks like stressed out, and they'll cut to her, and she's in a top hat,
and just for no good reason,
just grinning like a kid and like running around.
Hello, my lady. Hello, my darling.
Wow. It's this great counter energy underneath the whole show. And it's crazy because it's like she was there really from the pilots, and it took until this season for them to really include her in the show, and it's already made a difference. It's just like a great new energy to have on the show. It's awesome.
Yeah. And like we really haven't, I mean, they're kind of only using her as a character at this point. Like, I mean, we get her, but like you were saying, where everyone kind of like has their specialty, she hasn't like gotten to reveal hers yet.
Right.
You know, like her real power set.
Right.
You know?
Right. I think that's still to come.
Like, and they're like teasing it over the course. It's been interesting to watch it slowly come out, because again, I don't remember a time where she wasn't there.
Right.
You know, like
isn't that weird?
She's always been a part of it.
I feel like last season, I think we even talked about this maybe in our season recap episode. I think we talked about it on the air of like, we had seen nothing but Adam and Jamie, and it was like, oh wow, now it's hard to imagine what it's going to be like when the build team comes on. This is only, we're 9 episodes into having the build team, and already it's like, I can't imagine the show without them.
Yeah,
I've
already forgotten.
How did they ever make Mythbusters without them? It's like, we've seen so much without them, and now it's just, no, this is the show. Like, this is what it was always supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's so great. Well, when they finally get to this actual test, it is one of those magical Mythbusters live action cartoon, just most ridiculous thing. They've got it rigged up to a quick release, and they pull it, and it works exactly the way you want it to. The wide shot that they just hold of the whole thing happening, I genuinely found myself leaning closer to the screen.
Me too.
Like, I was just like, oh, and seeing that thing fly. Oh, it's so good.
I immediately took it back, because like this, so it's always been confusing to me that catapults work how they do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I would think that it would just fire something directly into the ground in front.
Right.
And I've never been super clear on the physics involved for why it doesn't do that. So to see it do exactly that was so gratifying for me. Because it just, I mean, the arm goes over, around, and it launches Buster directly into the ground, like damn near directly in front of the thing. It's awesome.
I have expected
slow-mo
him to be
seeing the humanoid figure just going directly for like swan diving into the ground.
I half expected like a Wile E. Coyote, he's embedded in the concrete kind of thing.
Yes.
When they
yes.
actually
So
got up
keep
to
going, and there's a hole, a Buster-shaped hole.
They said that one of his hands was 65 feet away from where the test started.
I mean, he's good and messed up. I don't know that he's quite, I got dropped in an elevator messed up.
Yeah.
But like, it's also really funny how immediately his momentum stops.
Yes.
Like, he hits the ground, and it's just like, donk, donk. That's it.
Doesn't skid, doesn't slide, just bam.
No. Yes, exactly. There's no transfer momentum or anything. It's thud, and then game over.
The boom lift sort of takes care of itself, because after it launches, it just collapses very neatly.
It folds in on itself. It's the perfect device. You just launch a Buster into the ground, and then it goes into a little suitcase, and you pick it up, and you're on your way.
They could have just like put a flatbed right beneath it, put a little trailer, just collapses in, they just drag it away. It would have been perfect.
I did love Carrie's, like, so I guess we're not getting another one then?
Yeah. There's no second test here. There's no second shot
here.
Okay. All right. We did it.
Cool.
Yeah, this was great. Just one of those iconic visuals. So much fun. And I mean, obviously, I don't know that it was ever in doubt, but it fully busted the myth, because even with this setup, like we said, Buster's detached hand only flew 65 feet. So the 200 feet thing was just never going to happen.
This was like particularly busted.
Yes.
Extra busted.
And they say that every single aspect is busted, including Buster, including the catapult. It's annihilated.
What do you think, guys? Is the myth busted?
Oh, myth totally failed. Completely busted. Totally, completely busted.
And Buster, busted. And Boomlift, busted.
Everything's busted.
The ground, busted.
So are you guys gonna stick around for the cleanup?
No, we're gonna go have some lunch and see you later.
Great.
Bye, thanks for helping with the fun part.
Myth 2, Windows Down versus Air Conditioning, which is a horrible name. I kept searching for a better name, and that is the only way it is referred to in this episode or online. But
Bad. Just a mouthful, not fun to say.
But a great myth, a great question. Is driving with your AC on more efficient than driving with the windows down?
What did you think? Because that's always we do this sometimes, but I always love, especially on the practical ones, to gauge like where you were at the beginning
Yeah.
versus the end.
At the beginning, my first thought was this was going to be true. That with the AC on, windows up was going to turn out to be more efficient because there was going to be more drag on the car from having the windows down. Upon closer inspection, it makes complete sense why that's wrong. But at the very beginning, that was my first blush thought.
That's not bad.
What was yours?
That's not bad. I didn't think it would be one. I thought it would be negligible. I thought it was going to be one of those where like there's not anything to this one way or the other. It just isn't like it's the same. It's virtually the same.
Yeah.
But again, well established on the show. Not a cars guy. Not a cars or a science guy.
I did love how kind of straightforward the testing on this one was. And it was similar to the Boomlift myth in that they kind of have two major sections. They're kind of two acts to the story, so to speak. Of first, it's a very straightforward test. They're going to use computers to test the efficiency on a closed track. So they have an SUV. They're going to go 5 miles with the windows up and AC on, 5 miles windows down, AC off, and get a direct reading. And it's kind of just like, bam, they're right into it. Which at first I was like, well, this is okay. There must be a third myth in this episode because, man, this is going to be over in 5 minutes. But where it goes makes more sense.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be one of those like quickie, we're going to basically test this in a computer and then it's over sort of things.
Yeah.
But their initial tests actually showed that the myth seemed to be holding up. Driving with the windows up and AC on, their miles per gallon average was 11.7. Windows down, AC off, it went down to 11.3 to 11.4. So kind of what you're saying, like negligible, not like a huge difference, but it did seem to show something. And then right away they go, yeah, but this is a computer model. It's not real world. It doesn't really take into account, this is ideal conditions being fed into this model. So then they have to do it for real or as close to that as they can. And it kind of sets up what I think is a great, not an Adam and Jamie build off necessarily, but it sort of had that energy of Adam and Jamie are each going to drive an SUV with the same payload, same amount of gas until it runs out of gas. And when they initially tee this up, they say the test is going to take 7 hours to do. Pretty brutal.
That's too brutal. Why does it need to be? You don't have to have like a full tank. Like, why can't you just like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's the thing that got me was where they end up is exactly that. We're not going to have a full tank and blah, blah, blah. We'll get there as to what their reasoning was. But I was kind of like, why didn't you start there? Why did we think the tank had to be completely full?
I don't know. Again, not a car guy. I have heard some things about like you get better mileage when you fill it all the way up or some such. But like that's why I feel like there will be endless, apart from maybe phones, cars might be like the top technology that is used by the most amount of people that don't really know how it functions.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
So like I can it's very understandable to me why there are so many car ones, because there's so many things about a car that do people like me are like, yeah, that sounds like it might kind of be something.
The great thing about car myths too is everyone, well, I mean, most people in the United States use one every single day. And so there's so much potential for weird crap, that has happened or could happen or that somebody experienced and didn't know why. It's a real touchstone kind of thing. And so it's immediately relatable. You've actually brought up before, not this myth, but another myth about fuel economy with, is it tailgate? Is it the tailgate myth that they did?
It's the tailgating one, yeah.
When this popped up,
I still to this day live my life based on the results.
when this one popped up, I thought this was going to be that myth. I was like, oh, this is the thing that Harrison was talking about. It's a very practical myth, but this is similar. This has a similar...
It's very similar. Let's see if you get to first of all, we have to bring up what Jamie brought into the car.
Oh, dear God. Yeah. So when they are preparing for the fact that it is going to be initially a 7-hour test, they need, snacks and various things to get to the car. Before we get to Jamie, Adam mentions that for this test, he's going to load up and he has a bunch of coffee, which my thought was, that is not what you want to do if you're not going to be able to get out of a car for 7 hours.
Exactly.
Unless his second item was a catheter.
Ah, yes. Or, a good Gatorade bottle. We've all been there.
Held by a well-meaning producer while you're driving around this racetrack.
Let's be real. Held by Christine.
The myth.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. But I'm right. No, we love Christine.
The jokes going through my mind that I can't say on air are,
there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of puns that are coming to mind that we'll have to
so many puns
hold on to for after we stop
go
recording.
Ahead and there we go. Nailed it. Got to the other side. Well done.
Pith turn.
You got so close.
I almost
so close.
I almost made
not...
it, and it slipped right out.
It also says a lot about me as a person that when you said that, I just imagined a little man in a pith helmet. I just said, I'm down. Oh, could I help you with your trebuchet?
That was from the quicksand episode a few weeks ago. That's what that would have been.
Yeah, grab the pith turn.
That's what they needed, the pith turn.
That's right.
But this, now to your point, Jamie brings what it can only be described as a bag of slop.
Yep.
That's going to be his lunch. What did it we'll get into the actual description the way that Jamie describes it in a moment. I pulled a clip because I thought only he can describe what this actually is. But did this remind you of anything?
Yeah, it sure did. I'm so glad you asked. Slop. like actual pig slop that you put in a sty.
Yeah.
And like pigs cove and
there was that. I also thought of like the gruel that they have in the Matrix, where they're just like, it has everything the body needs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That seemed like this was like Soylent before there was Soylent. Like Jamie is just like, well, it has everything you could possibly need. What could the problem be? It has all the nutrients that we only eat to keep ourselves healthy and alive, and so it has what it needs. I got that vibe.
They were so right to make a joke about being unsure whether or not it was coming up or going down.
Yeah,
that it really is. It's like that. It's puke. Throw up.
Yeah.
It's vom. It's vom city.
And it's not really
get the sawdust.
It's not really helped when Jamie describes what's in it. Let's take a listen.
This particular batch I call the 444. It has 4 fruits, 4 vegetables, and 4 grains. It actually tastes quite nice. It's sort of like gazpacho.
No, it's not, Jamie. That's just not what gazpacho is, number one.
Anybody that has to defensively say, it actually tastes quite nice.
Yeah.
There's nothing that has ever tasted quite nice that somebody had to go out of their way to say, well, actually, I know what you're thinking, but actually, in actuality, it tastes quite nice.
And not only to taste quite nice, but to defend something by saying, don't worry, it tastes like gazpacho.
I am not settled by that.
No.
I am not in any way less concerned than I was before Gazpacho entered the conversation.
And I will say, I did not notice this on the show until I pulled that clip and had it fed directly into my ear holes from my studio monitors.
The squirt?
The squirting
The
sounds
squirt. Yes.
that
Okay,
were
yes.
added by some nefarious editor in Australia. Quite nice, I have to say.
Because there's no way that's the actual noise that it's making.
No.
But,
No.
and it's just, it's subtle. It's in the background. It's a little squeeze noise.
Yeah.
It's not overpowering, but
I apologize to all of our
it's
listeners
there.
listening on headphones right now.
We couldn't, there's nothing we could have done about that.
And like ostensibly the idea of this, I could understand. Let me backtrack for a second. I could understand bringing a protein shake, right? Like a Slim Fast sort of thing.
Why not?
Something that is a nutrient rich drink to be able to, because you're going to be driving for 7 hours without being able to stop. You're going to need something, right? But not only is this product particularly gross, it is a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and his plan is to snip the corner and drink from it while driving.
While driving. Yes. Okay. Yes. So you do understand the plan.
There's
See, because you made it seem like you don't understand the plan, but that's the plan, and it's a good plan, Cliff.
it seems like
Hey, it worked, didn't it? So maybe shut up.
they never
How about
actually show
that?
him eating it, do they?
They don't. Which is why I'm not even. I'm not even convinced it's real.
Yeah.
It feels vaguely like something that he would do,
Right.
But that they invented this particular slop for the purposes of like this haha moment.
Well, but also, and at the beginning of that clip, that's actually a good point you just made. Because at the beginning of the clip, he says, "I call this particular batch," which means this is a thing
Which would
Jamie
imply-
does.
Yes.
This is like a
Yes.
regular occurrence with Jamie. It is not something he invented for the 7-hour car test.
No.
This is not
No.
Jamie's fuel efficient slop. This
No.
is a normal thing for him.
This is his normal soylent that he always has around.
Yeah.
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 The Heinemann, man.
To be ahead of the Silicon Valley tech bros on
Right.
Soylent, it's just nuts. To be like, I am inconvenienced so much by eating that I have turned it into this joyless
Yes. Yes.
task. I will consume this slop, which actually tastes quite good. I'll have you know. Don't mind me.
The personality it shows in someone, and I'm also counting Silicon Valley writ large with this judgment I'm about to make, to watch the movie Soylent Green and go, seems like a
Yes.
good idea.
And see and be like, that's not only haha hilarious. It's a good idea. We should try it.
It's not a warning, it's a
oh.
pitch.
That's the whole modern world.
This podcast is just continuing to get darker as the world gets darker, and there's just no way around that. That's just what this show is gonna have to be. We're trying to keep it light. We're trying to make this some nice, fun, haha entertainment for you guys.
No, but here's something fun. I bet the world will be darker by the time this episode comes out. So that's like good news for you and me personally.
So we should be nostalgic for now, is what you're saying. We're enjoying
In the future, yes.
Yeah. That's
we
why
should
we're
be
putting
future
this down.
nostalgic for now.
That sounds. I see.
I
no
didn't
fault in
say
that.
enjoy the present. I said when we get to the future, we will be nostalgic for now. We will not be enjoying the present at all.
And that's your weekly advice here in the middle of the Mythbusters podcast, everyone. It's about as happy as we can keep it these days.
About as happy as a clam.
This is where they pivoted because, as we said, the initial test was going to be really big, like 7 hours long, each car full of gas, crazy.
Yep.
And apparently the safety people, they almost made it sound like they're at the racetrack, pointed out to them, you're driving SUVs, which are not made to drive on banked tracks. You want to go 55 miles per hour for 7 hours. You're going to have a blowout. This is unsafe. This is not going to work. And so they pivot to where you would have thought the idea would have started in the first place, which is
Definitely.
put exactly 5 gallons of gas in each one and run it down from there, which makes so much more sense.
A lot more sense to me. I don't know.
I guess it was
Call me
right there the
crazy.
whole time. It's one of those things. It's like, we should have.
It was too clear.
It was too clear.
Too obvious.
Made
yes.
too much sense. And to be fair, I think they were also thinking that some of the conflict of the episode would be the hilarity of 7 hours in a car with Adam and Jamie.
And it would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Yeah.
But no, we just got slop for a few hours.
I noticed, I'm actually just thinking about this now because, the way that I put these episodes together, I don't look at the credits until the very end when they come up on screen. Do you notice that you hear a voice of a producer over the radio when they start the test? And Adam refers to it as, oh yeah, it's our producer. It's someone with an Australian accent. Was that Andrew?
Was it you?
I wonder if that was Andrew on the radio.
Did
I
we
should
catch Andrew Farrell
I
for
know.
the first time
I
in
was-
an episode.
I was going to email him and ask about all this, but because of the time difference,
But you guys are that chummy now.
it would be it
Damn.
would be like 2 days before I heard back.
well,
because of
yeah,
the time
you know.
difference. So it really wouldn't have
fair.
helped us for the show. But I do wonder. I wonder if that could have been him on the radio. We actually
Well,
got
did
our,
it sound like him? You know the voice.
I mean, not to sound nationalist, but it's an Australian accent. I can't.
Whoa. 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 See, I just did a bad one. I didn't insult an entire people. Damn.
It's over.
Damn, Cliff.
It's over
You all
radio.
sound the same? Damn, Cliff.
It's over a radio and it's 20 years
don't
old.
even
How am
know
I
that
supposed
you
to
could-
tell?
I don't even know if this is going to make it into the episode, man. Future Cliff is going to be like, I got to save him.
Oh man. All the jokes going through my head right now are about maintaining allies, and that's just not. We're gonna go back down the
No.
darkness again.
No, we don't need to go down the darkness again.
We can't do it. We can't do it. But I do wonder if that was Andrew making a little cameo here on the show. So in this test, Jamie's going to be the one driving with the AC on and the windows up. Adam is doing the opposite, having the windows down. Which would you have preferred if you had to drive for a long time doing this? Which would you have preferred to do?
What? The windows. Definitely. No, dude. But AC all the way up in a car? Screw that.
He's
That's not-
bundled in his leather
No
jacket.
way. Yeah, no way.
Good little
No
joke
way.
where the camera operator shook because he was cold. That
I
was a nice
did
little-
really like that.
Yeah, I enjoyed
didn't
that.
say anything, just shook to show us.
Yeah.
It was like, no, that was
That was quite
no,
nice.
I think windows down. I think windows down. And also Adam just seems like he had more fun snacks.
Yeah, and more fun just
Goes a long
shouting
way
stuff
with
out
me.
the window.
That too. That too.
Are you in general a windows down kind of driver, or do you have a preference?
Oh man. I used to be.
Mm.
Used to be.
And then the incident happened.
And the incident happened.
That was such an ominous. I used to.
No,
be
I got in
before
a bad wreck and like the window busted out. So like all of the
Oh wait, is that real?
yeah.
Oh God,
You didn't know this?
No, I
Oh yeah,
did not.
yeah. No, I
I
like
was making a joke about the incident happening.
no,
Now I
there
feel
was an
bad.
incident.
Oh, I'm
no,
sorry.
there was an incident.
I
and
didn't
now
actually-
I'm on record.
I didn't actually
You're
know.
on record making ha-has for my traumatic experience.
I'm offending the Australians. I'm making fun of your accident. God, I am.
and now, and just like that, I'm back on the side of the Australians against you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cliff.
Yeah. Common enemy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I legitimately didn't know that. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It is what it is. But yeah, you know, a little hesitant with driving with the windows down.
Well, yeah, that didn't factor into the myth. That could have been a test.
Yeah. How scared can we make Harrison?
Yeah. Oh,
They
God.
just clap real loud. Yeah.
Well, the result on this comes pretty quickly. Jamie is the first to run out of gas, and Adam actually says he thinks he has like another 30 minutes he could have driven after Jamie runs out and coasts in on fumes. It's the complete reverse from their computer test. And a surprising result. I was a little bit confused, I will say, as to kind of like, it was one of those, not necessarily what we're testing for, but what is the bustable component of the myth? Because we were comparing two things. It didn't really seem, they kept going, oh, we can bust the myth. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought we were just comparing. But the myth was that it's better to drive with the windows up and the AC on, and so that was what they could actually bust. And when they came in to kind of back into M5 and explain it at the end, I thought that made a lot more sense. And they also made a good point that the computer test that they did, the way that it works is it's actually measuring airflow through the engine and using that to calculate the fuel efficiency. It's not actually going off of fuel consumption, so that's why they could have gotten that. But their real world test showed it was almost 15% more efficient to run with the windows down.
And I understand why they couldn't, but if you really wanted, they should have switched cars.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
For like driving habits and whatnot.
Yeah, driving. And also, like, maybe one of the cars was just better than the other one. You know?
True.
Like,
I do know
there are
some of the
several other things that I think we could have tested for.
And also in some of the later myths where they do fuel consumption, because they come back to this a lot on the show. Different fuel myths. When they come back to that, at one point, they actually get out on the highway. Like they just said, let's go completely practical, stopping, driving, whatever, and see, what kind of difference that makes. And if we're losing fuel faster or slower or whatever. So we'll see them kind of get more sophisticated with that testing as the show goes on. But my thought at the end of this one was, because like I said, this was not the result that I expected. But when I thought about it, my big thing was initially, it's, if you have the windows down, it's going to be, it's going to have a lot more drag. But the way a car is made, it's not like that much air is coming in the windows, right? If you were driving without a windshield, that would probably put a lot more drag on the car. But just the windows, probably not. So I don't know if that's the explanation, but that's kind of what made sense to me.
It's a better explanation than none, which is basically what we got.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is what it is.
Yeah. This is just how it works.
All right, game over, kids.
Myth busted. Go home. Bye.
All right. See ya.
But yeah, a fun myth and a fun way to kind of kick off that fuel consumption thing that we'll see multiple times in the history of the show. So and a practical one. This is something that I am a Windows down guy, so I will remember this and use it.
Lucky you without incidents.
Well, that is our episode for this week. We hope you guys will come back next week. Our episode is going to be Exploding House.
What's up?
I do not know what that myth is. I have not looked at it. I have no idea, but just the name alone has me very excited.
I have to imagine it will include a house exploding.
I hope so.
Have to imagine this.
So go ahead and watch that episode. You can find it a couple of places around on the internet. There's a lot of Mythbusters out there. And while you're looking around on the internet, be sure to drop by and give us a rating or a review. It really helps us out. It helps people find the show. So if you enjoy it, please consider doing that and sharing it if you think other folks would enjoy the show. It makes a big, big difference for us. So as always, we will see you next week, but thanks for listening.
Bye-bye, bubbies.
Try This at Home is produced by Slugline Media. The show is written, hosted, edited, and shot onto the internet by Cliff Bumgardner and Harrison Stewart. Our music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow the show on Instagram at TryThisPod or email us trythisathomepod@gmail.com.